President Trump was told by the Attorney General that he is in the Jeffrey Epstein files. He was told he was in the files 2 months ago, and then last week said, no, he wasn't. He was.
Hey everyone, Carl here. The carefully built wall of denials has finally been shattered, and the man behind it is now scrambling. This isn't just a political setback. It's a full-scale legal and political explosion. The blast began in a federal courtroom, but its shockwaves are reaching all the way to the Oval Office. For months, one question has lingered in the air, unavoidable and deeply troubling. What did Donald Trump know, and what orders did he give regarding the evidence in the Jeffrey Epstein case? Now, we finally have an answer, and it didn't come from journalists or political opponents.
The committee this afternoon may very well go down as one of the most brazen, most shameless. The two-tiered system of justice is over. In fact, if Bondi's on-the-record testimony today served to prove anything out in public, anything at all, it is that a two-tiered system of justice has very much been operationalized, is the new reality.
Instead, it came from sworn testimony under oath, delivered by his own Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Her statement has set off a chain reaction of panic, betrayal, and looming consequences, all unfolding in real time. The setting was Judge Moss's courtroom. The atmosphere was tense, already weighed down by earlier testimonies, including that of former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. When Pam Bondi took the stand, the pressure was undeniable. She had tried to delay. Her legal team argued privilege, but Judge Moss made it clear. Attorney-client privilege does not cover discussions of criminal conspiracy. There was no way out. From the moment she sat down, her body language spoke volumes.
This was during a briefing on the findings of the Justice Department's review of the documents related to Epstein. That's according to sources familiar with the discussion. Those sources said the Justice Department's review found that the files appeared to include several unsubstantiated claims that they determined not to be credible, including those relating to Trump. Bondi also raised in the meeting that several names of other high-profile figures were mentioned, the official said. And it's worth noting that being mentioned in the files does not in any way indicate wrongdoing.
Her usual confidence had vanished. In its place was visible anxiety, shaking hands, a sheen of sweat, and eyes constantly darting toward her anxious attorneys. The prosecutor carefully built the case, step by step, before delivering the critical question. Did you, under instruction from President Trump, authorize the destruction of evidence related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation? The courtroom fell into a heavy silence. Her legal team immediately objected. One final attempt to block the moment.
Colleagues Ken Delaney and Vaughn Hilliard are covering this developing story since we've been on the air, and I want to share this update to their reporting. They report that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is considering leaving his job after this heated confrontation with Attorney General Pam Bondi over his frustration with how the Justice Department has handled the Jeffrey Epstein files. That's according to a person who's spoken with Bongino and a source familiar with Bongino and FBI Director Kash Patel's interactions with Bondi. Quote, Bongino is out of control, furious. The person who has spoken with the Deputy FBI Director said, quote, this destroyed his career. He's threatening to quit and torch Pam unless she is fired.
But Judge Moss overruled them. The question remained. Then came the words that changed everything. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, answered yes. The president instructed the destruction of logs for national security. Log destruction. It was a directed mission, one pointing to felony obstruction of justice from the very official responsible for upholding the law. The justification of national security rang hollow, appearing more like a thin cover for an act of self-preservation ordered from the top. But the real shock was still to come.
The Wall Street Journal, who first reported this story, said that AG Bondi, who was joined in the briefing by her deputy Todd Blanche, who previously served as President Trump's attorney in the criminal hush money trial.
The prosecutor then introduced what they called the fatal confession tape. A leaked audio recording, circulating for weeks, was played in the courtroom. It allegedly captured Trump's voice giving the order. In the silence of the court, the voice was unmistakable, bury the Epstein list. Bondi was asked directly, was this that conversation? Visibly shaken and cornered by the evidence, she confirmed it, yes. That recording is from a conversation I had with the president regarding the evidence in question. In that moment, Two powerful pieces of evidence, sworn testimony and recorded audio, locked together into something undeniable. She hadn't just implicated herself. She had confirmed the very evidence that pointed directly to the president.
The briefing took place in May, weeks before the Justice Department released a memo on July 6th attempting to close the book on Jeffrey Epstein, which said, quote, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. That memo kicked up a furor in the president's supporters. Among
Judge Moss, long known for his restraint, finally reached his limit. His ruling echoed across the courtroom with unmistakable force. He declared that Bondi's admission alone amounted to felony obstruction, an offense carrying a potential 20-year sentence. Without hesitation, he scheduled a contempt hearing for the very next day. In an instant, the sitting attorney general found herself facing immediate sanctions and even the possibility of arrest. The evidence was overwhelming. Bondi's testimony aligned perfectly with Mark Meadows' earlier statements. Meadows had described Trump ordering evidence to be destroyed. Bondi admitted she carried out those orders. Two senior officials, under oath, telling the same incriminating story. For prosecutors, this is the ideal scenario. A fully corroborated narrative with no room left for denial. Trump's reaction came swiftly and revealed everything. Within hours, he launched into a tirade on Truth Social. The same woman he had recently praised as loyal and exceptional was suddenly dismissed as weak, someone who had supposedly caved under pressure. This is a familiar pattern. Loyalty is demanded without question. But the moment it clashes with self-preservation and the truth surfaces, that loyalty is discarded. The strategy is simple. Don't defend the action, attack the witness. This sudden betrayal has triggered a political avalanche. First, the legal front. Bondi is now in serious legal jeopardy. Facing the full weight of Judge Moss's authority and a likely contempt charge, her most viable path forward may be cooperation. Like Meadows before her, she possesses critical inside knowledge, details of directives, pressure campaigns, and alleged obstruction efforts tied directly to the president. Her incentive is clear: cooperate fully in exchange for leniency. And in doing so, she could expose not just the Epstein cover-up, but a broader pattern of abuse across multiple agencies. Second, the impeachment push. In Congress, momentum has surged. What was once dormant is now moving at remarkable speed. Lawmakers are treating Bondi's confession as a turning point. Articles of impeachment are being fast-tracked, focusing on obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and witness tampering. A vote is being targeted for January 6th, a date heavy with symbolism, marking 4 years since the Capitol attack. The argument being built is clear. This is not an isolated incident, but part of a consistent pattern. Third, the Senate equation. What once seemed impossible is now being reconsidered. A 2/3 vote for conviction in the Senate no longer feels out of reach. Public opinion has shifted dramatically. Polls referenced in testimony suggest 65% of Americans now support removal, while Trump's approval rating has dropped to just 27%. This shift places immense pressure on Republican senators. While some will remain loyal, others, particularly moderates and those concerned about their legacy, are reassessing. The image is no longer of a leader worth protecting, but of a presidency in decline, weighed down by mounting evidence. The 17 Republican votes needed for conviction no longer seem like fantasy. They are becoming a real possibility. Fourth, the widening investigation. Bondi's testimony also reinforces claims that Trump instructed FBI Director Kash Patel to halt investigations. This suggests a coordinated effort across agencies. Evidence destruction on one side, investigative suppression on the other. Patel now becomes the next critical figure. Subpoenas are inevitable, and like those before him, he will face a stark choice: protect himself or remain loyal. Fifth, the personal unraveling. Trump's public outbursts reflect a man under pressure. His attacks on Bondi are not the words of someone confident in his innocence, but of someone reacting to a truth that has now been formally documented. Each statement adds to the perception of desperation. As political support erodes, isolation grows, making his position increasingly unstable, even within his own party. The bigger picture. This is no longer a single scandal. Bondi's confession connects multiple threads: the Epstein cover-up, the courtroom battle before Judge Moss, potential Supreme Court questions about self-pardons, and fractures within the Republican Party. IT explains the urgency, the desperation, and the alleged attempts to bury evidence tied to a deeply damaging network. The story has moved beyond allegations that IT is now about admissions. The Attorney General has confessed to a felony and implicated the president. What we are witnessing is not political theater. It is the real fear of consequences finally taking shape. Loyal allies are choosing self-preservation over silence, and a reckoning that once seemed distant is now unavoidable. The walls aren't just closing in anymore, they've already been built, brick by brick, with sworn testimony. And now, Donald Trump stands inside them, face to face with the truth.